Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today, where your boys, we always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Paleolog, and we finally have some actual Toronto Blue Jays news that we can digest here, folks. Yeah, literally, like stuff is transpiring right now, guys. Yesterday, it was the arbitration deadline, so they either had to reach an agreement or not. Some of them reached an agreement, some of them not, aka Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We're going to get into all of that Toronto Blue Jays news for you guys, so please make sure to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. Let's flash over to the list of all of the players the Toronto Blue Jays were capable of coming to an agreement to, and it was literally everybody except Guerrero.
Yeah, everybody got their little arbitration here, and I was looking before this podcast trying to break down what do these deals mean, but every single one of these players, what you got to know is they're kind of just on pace. For those who are listening on the podcast, right? Kevin Biggio got the biggest expected pay jump of $4.2 million. I mean, granted, Kevin Biggio had a good year for Kevin Biggio last year.
He finished strong.
He finished very strong, and based on what the Blue Jays are doing this year, I bet your bottom dollar that Kevin Biggio and his team is going to the Blue Jays and saying, well, if you're not going to go out and get a third baseman, it looks like you've got some job openings over here.
Totally.
Kevin could go out and fill out all these jobs. Let's pay this guy a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And is there anybody else on this list that kind of stands out to you too? I know you're thinking Danny Jansen as well.
I was looking at Danny and I was seeing that 5.2 next to Danny's name and just thinking to myself, holy mother of God, that is a steal. Right, that is a steal when you are factoring in what this guy can do slugging wise with the baseball bat, and then also too how he can call a great game and just what he means to the Toronto Blue Jays. Paying only $5.2 million in his final year of arbitration, that's crazy.
In perspective, it feels like a steal, because if you do sign this guy next year when he hits free agency, he's getting well over $10 million per year.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think right now, realistically, if Danny Jansen, let's say that this wasn't his final year, he was a free agent, there's no way he's getting 5.2 average annual value.
No, I'm putting Danny up in the 10 to 15. He's a quality guy. He hasn't stayed on the field healthy. I think that's going to be his big kind of Achilles heel. But when he is on the field, he's really good. He calls a good game, great defense. So 5.2 for arbitration is a steal. If he was doing these kind of numbers back when he hit arbitration for the first time 3 years ago, this would be a lot bigger number, but this is a great steal for the Blue Jays.
And I love that you were talking about health there, because I guess when I saw that number, I was just thinking and I was hoping, okay, if he is on the field for 100, let's even be conservative, 130 games. 130 games he's on the field for, we are going to get our money's worth if we are the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Because I think that we've been getting our money's worth of $5.2 million when this guy's on the field for 70 games. Yeah. So if he actually comes in fully healthy, really taking care of his body and mapping himself out to stay on the field, we are gonna be having a fucking amazing Danny Jansen year, I think.
Yes, we are. One more thing I wanted to note from this list, just for a future kind of reference. Dalton Varsho, $5.6 million. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's got 3 more years. Let me just double check for y'all, because I don't want to give you guys any sort of misinformation. But if he's got 3 more years of arbitration, the way the arbitration works when it's steadily going to increase, it's going to be a lot of money. 2 more years, excuse me. This was his third last year of arbitration. It's going to get to a really big figure.
It could be, yeah, because, like Adam was saying there, it does steadily increase, and that's why we got such a favorable number there with Danny Jansen with the 5.2, because his first season of arbitration, it wasn't that much. This is Dalton Varsho's second year here. He's getting paid more than what Danny Jansen is making in his final year. So you got to think, when he gets to ARB 4, that figure is going to be probably closer to $14, $15 million, depending on what it is that he does on the field, of course.
Yeah, because we can't forget that he is one of the best defenders in baseball.
Yeah.
And so that's factoring in a lot to how he played. And plus, when he entered ARB last year, he was coming off of a 27 homer season with that defense. So that's where he's that's a great starting point for an arbitration player, which is scary, because if we don't get that, we can negotiate the numbers down. Of course, it's nothing locked in. That's why they have these arbitration hearings. so they can negotiate if they don't agree. But like, it is kind of scary that we could be paying him a lot, so we gotta hope he breaks out in a big way with the bat.
Well, somebody correct me in the comments down below, but I do believe that when they're doing those arbitration hearings and everything like that, WAR is a number that gets thrown around quite a bit. And because he is so strong with the defense, he's always going to have that in his favor. So if it ever did come to a point where we got to go to a hearing of some kind, he might have the arbitrators back. You know?
Absolutely. Now that's kind of like all my kind of notes. And unless you had anybody else.
As far as those guys go, I'm very happy with all of that. I mean, even Jordan Romano, 7.7, I believe it is. 7.75. I'm very happy with that. I think that Jordan Romano 100% deserves all of that money. When I look at this list, I'm going, this is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I was going to say, with all that being said, we're on the same boat.
Yeah, obviously the big one here is the fact that we are missing out on Guerrero. And Guerrero's number, now he came in and he asked for $18.05 million. There it is, $18.05 million. Thank you, Shai Davidi. He asked for 19.9. The Blue Jays filed at $18.05 million. So they are roughly $1.9 million off, which is close to the biggest gap. The biggest gap is Adolis Garcia at $1.9 million. He is just shy of that gap. It is a sizable gap, and they're going to need to, potentially go to the arbitrator to pick which side he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quick shout out here to Battlegrounds, guys. If you have a date this Valentine's Day, you want to go to Battlegrounds, absolutely a great time. Book it. Check out their website. Go check it out. Throw some axes. It's a great time.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, this is a big difference, and a lot of flags kind of were flown up here because even before they announced that they were off and that they're going to be going and exchanging numbers. So for those who don't know, if they don't come to agreement by the deadline, they have to exchange numbers sometime in February. But a lot of people were kind of talking before that and saying, well, why is it taking so long? Is there some sort of like big negotiation happening right now? Are they talking about a potential extension? Because Bo Bichette last year, he got that extension within his arbitration. Or is there something even more? Is there a longer term deal beyond when he hits free agency? Those kind of conversations. What do you kind of make of that? What do you think is going on in Guerrero's mind, in Guerrero's camp?
Well, for starters, I think that all of this is happening because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his value is extremely difficult to quantify right now. I mean, I think you ask any analyst, any Blue Jays analyst, any MLB analyst really, and they're looking at Guerrero and they're going, I don't know. He could give me a 750 OPS and be a good quality player, or he could be, top 5 in RBIs and in the MVP conversation. And that swing of floor to ceiling, it's tough to evaluate. And I think that is reflected by those numbers being so drastically different from one another. I think the conversation of extension, that's bound to come up when you're dealing with a player of Vladdy's caliber and of his name value and what he means to the city. Those conversations are bound to happen. Whether or not they are going to come to a 2-year extension and just fill out the arbitration deal, or a 10-year extension and lock him down forever, that is still to be seen. If I was a betting man, I would think that it's probably closer to a 2-year extension just because that value is so hard to quantify.
Yeah.
But if you want to save the offseason, boys, give me the double-digit extension.
That would be phenomenal. It would definitely save the offseason, but I can't even begin to think where that number would even lie at this point.
That's the problem.
Because when you look at Vladdy and his ceiling, I mean, honestly, you could somewhat compare him to Cody Bellinger in a way, and he wasn't as bad as Cody Bellinger, mind you. But he did hit his floor, and he had 1 year of a good ceiling where Bellinger had like 3 years. 3 years of a great ceiling and then 3 years of a bad floor. So there's a lot of variables when you're thinking about how Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to do any given season. So with that being said, like, I might put the value at like 150 to 200 million right now, where Bellinger is.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I think that if you were to give Vladimir Guerrero Jr. an extension, that's where you'd want it to lie, just because there is so many like uncertainties around what his future is going to look like. But if you're Guerrero, you don't want that, man. No. I mean, you're going to enter into free agency at 27 years old or 26, 27 years old. So like, no way. Like, we are going to wait it out. I think that if you are the Blue Jays and if you're Guerrero, that's when you have to start talking about getting a Bo Bichette-like deal locked in where, okay, you know what? We don't want to go through this headache next year, right? Because we're starting to do it right now. Like, this is work. This is effort. You want to go to the gym. You want to get healthy. We want to deal with, like, doing our team thing.
Ross Atkins doesn't want to put in work right now.
Hell no, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy's been, like, napping on the beach, right? He needs to get back to his hard efforts right there. So I think that if they are meeting together, then that conversation of getting a 2-year deal locked down that just deals with the arbitration, that is probably pretty appealing to these guys. And I think that now that they are, so far apart from one another and they have time to exchange numbers, to exchange figures, those conversations are 100% going to be happening.
Yeah, and, we kind of made an argument with Bo Bichette last year how, Bo Bichette, he needs to focus on the game. Like, none of this, because at the time last year, there was talks of, like, trading him and talks of getting Xander Bogaerts, and he wanted to focus on baseball. Maybe this could be something that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wants to do as well, is focus on baseball so that when eventually he does come up for his free agency year, maybe he could get a bigger payday.
Yeah.
I'm predicting as well that 2-year extension. I hate calling it an extension, but technically that's what it is. I hate it. It's still within his frame that we hold him. I could predict something about $40 million. You pay him, 18 this year, 22 next year. And meet what they did with Bo Bichette, because Bo Bichette's camp last year, the Blue Jays offered them, I think it was like a 3 or 4, like something low, and then Bo Bichette wanted higher. So what they said was, okay, we're gonna pay you 3. It was like a 3.5-ish. For this next year, but then we're going to give you even more the following year. So I think that could be something to look forward to. That's my prediction on what's going to happen with Vladimir.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the exact same boat there, dude. I think that would make a lot of sense. And if that doesn't happen, then you reach arbitration, and that's just what it's got to be. But, I mean, you're looking over at somebody like a Juan Soto. Like, they're paying that guy $31 million this year, And I'm not saying that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to get Juan Soto numbers, but, like, if you are the Blue Jays and you could potentially lock him in for a $22 million deal next year, I think you kind of jump at that opportunity. So that's where Guerrero is at. I know that there's going to be some fans that are wondering, is there any reason to worry about this at all?
Time for a quick shout out to Betway. Betway is the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite teams. Betway is also in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, if you saw what they did with Bo Bichette last year, I wouldn't be too worried. The Blue Jays want to field Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And they're going to be having those conversations about maybe some sort of extension within the arbitrations, maybe even something afterwards. I think it's just, again, two sides thinking that they deserve what they deserve, based on his playing. And I wouldn't worry too much about it.
This to me feels strictly business. I think that they understand at this point that this is business. I mean, if you've been following along with Guerrero in the offseason, you know that this time, and we say that every time, but this time he is putting in the work. And I mean, even though Ross Atkins has said a bunch of stuff that he's going to go out and he's going to help this team, one thing that I do truly believe from what he has come out and said is that Guerrero is a key piece to this team, to the Toronto Blue Jays, to potentially their future. So I'm confident that both sides absolutely want to reach an agreement and that they will reach an agreement. It just comes down to when is it going to happen, how much, and for how long.
Yeah, guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about all this Vladimir Guerrero Jr. not reaching some sort of deal last night? And give us your predictions on what you think is going to happen.
Also, $3 a month become a Patron member. Shout out and thank you to all of our current Patreon members and our YouTube members too. All of you guys are so appreciated.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!